tonight that we can jump into some worship. But before, I just wanted to kind of share a couple of thoughts with you. Because I am grateful for that song. That song's been around a long time, as I have. And I think it's important to be able to feel, because what it's done for me, and especially the wedding that Ryan did with that and Jesus on My Cross have taken, is one that when you really are amazed with God's love, it does tend to drive you toward Him. And I really feel that I'm grateful that God does that. I've been grateful that God gives me a chance to see His love, and in that, to shape the love that's in my heart, because it's not within me. The only thing that's within me is the Spirit of God that's going to really allow me not only to see it, to be amazed by it, but then to be changed by it and to move me toward that. I've been thinking about it more, and it struck me after a couple of weeks ago we spoke through Psalm 136 in the worship service, and has that repetitive line, "For His steadfast love endures forever." And I wondered as we were going through it how many people were just going, "Really? We've done this 20 times already?" And saying that same line again. I think God has purpose in that, because I think He really wanted us to believe it. And it's one thing to repeat it over and over. I think it's another thing to believe it, as I say. And I say that because I think it's a challenge for us, mere mortals, if you will, to live in a world that believes that love can come to an end. There are people who have heard someone say to them, "I don't love you anymore." It's a real thing. There are people who might hear the idea of, "Well, I thought I did at one time, but I've changed." That's the world we live in. And it's really easy to see that if you watch movies, people, because if you can fall into love, apparently you can fall out of love. And it's when we start putting that on God, when we start trying to somehow feel, especially in those moments where you and I hit hard times in life, where we start to feel that maybe even those little disciplinary times that God has for all of us, when He wants to do a course correction in some way that we're thinking or feeling or whatever, somehow equate that God loves us the way the world says love is. That maybe He's not necessarily falling out of love for you, but maybe He just doesn't love you as much as He did before. And you probably have also heard people say, "I love you, but I really don't like you." Really, seriously. I mean, I've heard that again and again and again. But you see, His love is not like that. And we know that to be true. Through Psalm 136, it talks about who God is. It talks about what the positions He holds, what He's done to create, and that He has done that rescue of His people simply because His steadfast love endures forever. Not because you and I deserve it. Not because we did something to impress Him. Not because we did something to force His hand. He loves because He is love. And that is, Jonathan Edwards, I came across this, preached these words. His essence, speaking of God, being love, He is, as it were, an infinite ocean without shores, without bottom, or without even a surface. Like that. That's God's love. Those that God is pleased to make the objects of His love, Edwards says, let them be who they will, or what they will, ever so mean, even such great sinners, they might still be the objects of a love that is infinitely full and sufficient. It's not what you do. It's maybe not even what you don't do. If God chooses to put His love on you, it is infinitely there forever. God's love endures our failures, our resentments. God's love endures even our disgust with ourselves sometimes. When you just can't believe you did something or said something or even thought something about somebody. Derek Kidner is, I think, one of the better commentators on the Psalms, if you ever want to get a good commentary on the Psalms. He points out that the English translation of "for his steadfast love endures forever" kind of is cumbersome. And I think some of us felt that as we were just kind of saying it in the worship service together. Because he said really the Hebrew syllables can more easily be translated, "for his love has no end." And that is easy to say. For his love has no end. That's your response. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good.
For his love has no end.
Does that feel different? Yeah, it does. I thought it did, specifically, because I said it to myself, yeah, the steadfast love endures forever. Nobody talks like that. But I talk like his love has no end. And it just struck me over and over. And I started reading through Psalm 136, and it just took on a much deeper and stronger feeling. Why? Because everything he does is because his love has no end. That is his motivation all the way through. And that's what we sing over and over and over and over and over. So all to say, even through the highs and the lows of your life, don't define God's love at all like the world does. And I'm not saying anything brand new to you, obviously, but I felt I needed to be reminded of it as I not only read that translation, his love has no end, but I felt what it means when I start just kind of thinking to myself, it's not about you. He just decided to put his love on you. And he's not going to change his mind. He's not going to say, I don't love you anymore. That's not God, right? So, I want you to hang on to that word sheet because we are going to use that in our Good Friday service, although the words will be back there. But if you want to practice it, you can do that as well. Would you take out "Father, forgive us"?